Today, a pretty crucial figure in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation was on Capitol Hill. It's this guy, billionaire investor Leon Black. He was Epstein's main source of income for several years. Black paid Epstein over $150 million for what he described as tax and estate planning, which is a lot more than what he would have paid other more established firms. Black met voluntarily with the House Oversight Committee today, but the meeting went off the rails after he refused to answer questions about allegations that he signed non-disclosure agreements with women who were linked to Epstein. Just 1 hour into the meeting, the committee's Republican chairman stepped out to announce they were issuing subpoenas to Black right then and there.
I have just issued 2 subpoenas to Mr. Black, one for all the NDAs that he is party to, and second for a deposition on July 16th. The NDAs are between him and other women. We want to know, was Jeffrey Epstein involved in the NDAs? Was he involved in writing? Was he involved in awarding funds to the women for the NDAs? What was the reason for the NDAs? We want to know everything about the NDAs. So that's very important to our investigation.
Not long after that, Black and his attorney walked out. There they go, marking an abrupt end to his voluntary interview. Black has long denied being involved in Epstein's criminal actions, and that is just one of the Epstein developments today. The other is that a judge has now ordered Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to produce more unredacted files on Epstein, including notes from FBI interviews with a woman who accused Donald Trump of sexually abusing her when she was a teenager after Epstein allegedly introduced them. Trump has long denied any wrongdoing related to Epstein. Joining us now is the person who filed the lawsuit that led to the judge's order, my friend Katie Phang, who is a trial lawyer and an independent journalist. Also with us is Joyce Vance, a former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Alabama. She is a law professor at the University of Alabama and the author of Civil Discourse on Substack. Good to see both of you. Katie, tell us about your lawsuit and this judge's ruling granting your motion. What type of unredacted files are you most interested in seeing the Justice Department produce now?
Well, Jacob, it's good to see you and especially to be here with Joyce. My lawsuit is very clear. I just want the Department of Justice to follow the law. I'm not asking for anything more, but I'm certainly never going to take anything less than what the law requires. And the files that I'm specifically looking for are all of them. The lawsuit seeks the release of the properly redacted files. But in this immediate instance, this motion for preliminary injunction that was just granted by federal Judge Emmett Sullivan, we identified specific emails where the sender and the recipient, their names and their email addresses have been improperly redacted, or at least it appears that they are. And the reason why, Jacob, nobody really knows is the required redaction log that the Epstein Files Transparency Act was telling the DOJ that they had to do has never been done. So that is another component of my preliminary injunction that has been granted. But you did note that there are missing interview notes by the FBI that we know existed at least at some point in time that deal with an allegation by a woman who says that she was just 13 years old when she was physically and sexually battered by Donald Trump. Where are those interview notes? We haven't even gotten them in a redacted form. And there's also foreign language documents, Jacob, that, according to Todd Blanche, they didn't even bother to try to translate. He said, we didn't have capacity to do so. And yet we know that this was a multi-decade international sex trafficking child rape ring. And the fact that the DOJ thinks that we, and specifically me as a journalist, am just supposed to take it as it comes, just goes to show their level of arrogance. Judge Sullivan noted in his 48-page order that Todd Blanche conceded that he has violated the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And I think somebody who wants to be the permanent Attorney General of the United States should be required to obey the law.
I'm so glad, Katie, that you mentioned that, because this is exactly what I want to ask you about, Joyce. I'm looking at it here. The judge said that the Justice Department, the word exactly, as Katie said, was conceded violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed by Congress, signed by the president, but a Justice Department spokesperson said that Todd Blanche, quote, has not conceded anything, and that Judge Sullivan's perverse interpretation appears to be focused on driving misleading headlines. This judge is suggesting DOJ violate the law by unredacting victims' names, who, as the department has always explained, sadly became co-conspirators. DOJ has produced all responsive documents and will appeal this decision with confidence. Your reaction?
I worked for a Justice Department that didn't insult federal judges after they made decisions in the cases in front of them based upon the evidence. And I think it's still shocking to hear that. It's become somewhat predictable, and particularly in this setting involving the Epstein files, where Katie's lawsuit, let's just brag on our friend for a minute and say that this is a nice piece of litigation. It's very narrowly tailored. It asks at this stage with the injunction for the release of a very specific universe of documents that were either over-redacted or improperly withheld in the original release of the files, because the Transparency Act is very clear. It says DOJ cannot withhold documents to protect, for instance, important, well-connected men in Donald Trump's orbit. So all of this stuff is properly disclosable. And when the judge makes this point that the Justice Department has conceded that, he's basing that on the fact that they challenged the legal basis for Katie's lawsuit. They say she used the wrong statute. She should have used the Freedom of Information Act, not proceeding under the Administrative
APA.
Procedure Act, right? And the judge says, well, that's wrong. But here's another thing about how DOJ operates. You don't just make one argument and then walk away. You don't just make that threshold legal argument and walk away. You argue in the alternative and you say, well, Your Honor, even if we're wrong about that and she's entitled to proceed under the APA, we still don't believe we have to turn over these documents, and you lay out your reasons. The reason the judge says DOJ conceded here is because they didn't lay out any reasons that they didn't have to turn over these specific items. That, I think, is very telling. It would have been tough to make that argument because they all fall clearly within the dictates of the Transparency Act. The judge pointed that out. DOJ doesn't like it. They're engaging in name calling. That's still not a response to the substantive arguments that we're winners here.
And not only are they engaging in name calling, but they're making no secret, or at least it certainly sounds like they plan to appeal this. Katie, why are they so opposed to releasing these unredacted files? What is your theory?
I don't know, Jacob, maybe we should go to the Situation Room to have a conversation over why they don't want to release this. I mean, that reporting, combined with the fact that it has now been more than 6 months since December 19th of 2025, which is the date by which the law required the Department of Justice to comply with the law, just shows a level of disregard for the rule of law that we have seen time and time again from this Trump DOJ. But I want to make something clear. The desire to bring this lawsuit, my hand was forced, Jacob, because as a journalist, I cannot do my job. And more importantly, I cannot deliver the facts to the public and to the victims and survivors of Epstein, Maxwell, and others so that they can also pursue investigative leads. It is the greatest stain on American history that a multi-decade sex trafficking ring involving children being raped resulted in only 2 prosecutions thus far, one of whom is now dead. And I think that we look at other countries like France and England, and we see them picking up the laboring oar to continue to try to find culpability and accountability where it lies. And yet our country, which is supposed to be the greatest in the world, according to Donald Trump, doesn't even know how to abide by the law. If the Department of Justice can't do it, then this is something that we have to actually force them to do.
Watching Comer come out after Leon Black went in there today, just want to ask you about what happened there. Politico reported just yesterday that Oversight Committee members were considering issuing subpoenas. This is what it said, quote, to find out about the NDAs between Jeffrey Epstein's friends and his victims. Your take on the significance of all of this?
Well, Katie and I have both been there as prosecutors, right? You try to get a voluntary statement out of a witness for starters. But sometimes you find yourself in a situation where the witness isn't being truthful and things go south pretty quickly. What we saw today looks exactly like that. This is not the Democrats on the Oversight Committee demanding subpoenas. This is the Republican leadership issuing them. Strong suggestion is that they were very uncomfortable with Black's testimony once he was in the room. The fact that they focused on the NDAs goes to the heart of the matter that's at issue in Katie's lawsuit. This is about people who were victims. And although DOJ is now trying to recharacterize them as co-conspirators, inside of the Justice Department, this is a very sensitive issue in human trafficking cases. And the reality is that people who are victims should be treated like victims. Now the committee will have the opportunity to get to the bottom of that.
Katie Phang and Joyce Vance, thank you both so much. It's good to see you. Appreciate it.